Ciao a tutti, it's Laura in Italiano coming at you, and today, by way of introduction, again, it's a new channel for me, I'm going to tell you a little story. Okay, this is not my creation story, my friends, but this is actually my daughter Stella's creation story. Has to do with famiglia. Anyway, I have to go back all the way for this story to when I was 16 and my parents and my younger brother, we went on, I think it was our second European vacation. The family did a guided tour of the Villa Serbelloni, which is the Rockefeller Foundation, which is up on the hill. If you've ever been to Bellagio, absolutely gorgeous. And our tour guide, was a young man who was 18, whose name I will not reveal because protect his identity in case anyone ever goes to Bellagio. Anyway, I just thought he was the most gorgeous person I'd ever seen. And at that time I had my diary, I wrote in my diary every day, and he reminded me of a young Mikhail Baryshnikov. And need I say more? At that time, we're talking very end of for the first couple of years of the 80s, okay?
Wow.
Anyhow, I just thought he was beautiful. And then I saw him later. In town, in his little red convertible, whatever it was, Fiat Spider, or his little car, his little Italian car. And we talked, and he asked me out. And my parents, being Northern Californians, very into, my mom, very into new agey stuff. And, we did the EST training. We were very, self-actualized. Even me and my brother did the kids training. We were very self-actualized children. And my parents always like to refer to themselves as our friends. And that's kind of the milieu in which we grew up. But that is a whole nother day for probably a whole different channel. Anywho, long story short, he and I went out that night. And of course, I thought it was love at first sight, only to find out later, years later, that it was, that summer, probably every summer for them, it was all the young Bellagio young men. It was like a joke and a bet to see who could, mess around with more and meet more and date more foreigners, tourists. Anywho, at the time, I was smitten. So much so that the next morning we were supposed to fly out because due to rain, there was like a delay out of Milan. And I, cried and I begged my parents, can we please go back to Bellagio, just stay one more night? Because I thought it was love. Anyway, fast forward to the year 2000, when I first started with Talc, and I was training on this tour with a colleague who's now a dear friend. And during the training, the guests had free time, half day, they had lunch on their own, and then they were going in Bellagio. And then we were going to take the ferry across Lake Como. Anyway, I went to the Florence, which is, if you've been to Bellagio, there's the lakefront, and at this end, there is the Florence. At the other end, there's the Swiss, and the Florence is the one that faces the Grand Hotel Serbelloni, that gorgeous property on the lakefront. Anywho, they said, oh, yeah, that guy? Oh, yeah, we know him. He owns the Swiss. So I went over to the Swiss. He wasn't there. I left a little note, and I basically just said, look, I met you when I was 16. You were 18. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm working here now. I'm staying in Milan one more night. Would love to hear from you, with my phone number. We start dating. I was going to say again, but we start dating. We actually get to know one another, and it's lovely. But, typical Italian man, he just wants something that's casual, and when we see each other, we see each other. So I also started to date other people. Long story short, then it was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'm in love with you. Hey, let's go to Paris. So we went to Paris. We got back together. We went to Paris for this incredible weekend, and the result is I have my daughter Stella. So anyway, when she was a baby, we went over and lived for a while with his parents. And then I got a place up in Limonta, which is even more remote than Bellagio. It's like above Bellagio, up in the mountains, curvy roads, and it literally was a place. I mean, I chose it. I was the one who chose it. I thought it was amazing and remote, and that's what I was looking for, this amazing, wild, crazy life that was nothing like my life at home. So we were living in a little teeny place up in the mountains, and then you did your laundry, and then you'd have the clothes on the clothes horse. You'd have to put the rocks down, or the clothes would all fly off the mountaintop. And there were ants like this big crawling through the house the entire time that we were there. But anyway, and then there was like the horse, and there was the cows, and then, I had an old Land Rover that he had bought for me, like old beat up Land Rover, and the brakes kept going out. And then you have to stop it because, of course, you were off a paved road, and then you would have like a cow or the horse would just stand there, and you'd have to try and get them, you'd have to shoo them away. So it was an amazing experience. It really is not even about me or what happened with the relationship or any of that stuff. It's really about the amazing daughter, Stella. who has this whole other amazing life waiting for her in Italy whenever she wants it. And, you know, how amazing is that, to have that culture and that history and that tradition? Anyway, that is one of the reasons why Italy, one of them, will always feel, I will feel that connection with famiglia there. I hope you're all well. If you're enjoying hearing me talk and go on, I promise, my friends, the next video will actually be something more relevant to what you're probably going to watch me for, which is travel tips, where to go, what to do. I will talk about different destinations. We'll do some mini Italian lessons. So the word for today, of course, is the one I've mentioned a couple times, and that is the theme for today is famiglia. Say it with me, amici miei, famiglia. So you have that G in there, which you don't pronounce. It depends on the word. I always like to picture my tongue twisting just a little bit, like bagno, like our, you know, onion. You're not pronouncing that. It's just twisting it. So famiglia. It's not famiglia. That would be like a silent G. Famiglia. It just gives it a little something extra. Anyway, hope you're all well. I'll be coming at you again soon. Amici miei, grazie. Ciao, ciao.